Education is so important. People have always talked about what are we going to do? You're going to have school choice, you're going to have all different types of things. And I want to try to figure out how can we get kids an education? It doesn't matter what zip code you're from, but get them the education they need because education is an equalizer. And I truly, truly believe that. And that's the reason I'm here, just to see how this is working, what is going on, how you getting funding, and just what's happening. We put people in office that doesn't seem to care about this country anymore. And I said, you know, if I can change it and I just sit back and do nothing, what kind of man will I be? But right now, I know I can change something.
Good morning.
Welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Brittany Brown.
I'm Bill Edwards, and we're getting real. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty where we give you the whole iceberg and not just the tip as you get at most of the news media where they don't tell you the truth anyway.
Yeah, and we have a lot to go over after having a debate here last week and also some sad news coming here from Savannah, Georgia. They, Bill, I'm sure you saw that they have, determined that little 20-month-old baby Quentin
They keep saying
Simon.
He's one. He's actually pretty darn close to two. At least
Yes.
he was.
He was little though. He's a little guy, but yeah, they are presuming that he is dead as of Friday.
There are so many questions. This is one of the most bizarre cases I can ever remember here, or investigations. I don't know how the FBI got involved so quickly. The police chief, Jeff Hadley, who's one of my favorite people, county police chief, said that they came in, sort of voluntarily, that they came in to help. Okay. And then, and I heard within hours they had helicopters up, they had the heat-seeking stuff up, and they had dogs, neighbors, so where did this kid go? And now they say that they believe he's dead, but we don't have a body. How do they know he's dead? What kind of evidence they have? And I know they ongoing investigations.
Yeah.
They can't tell the public a lot many times because it would interfere with the investigation itself. But they said they don't know where he is, but they believe he's dead. And the mother is the prime suspect, but they don't know where she is. Now, there's something I know that Jeff Foxworthy once said there's other things you won't hear a Southerner say, like, Alex, I'll take Shakespeare for 2,000.
Right.
But there's something rotten in Denmark here, and I can't figure out exactly what this story's about. But it doesn't seem to have the interest. The interest span of the standard news media is pretty short. Unless they're on, get on some sort of campaign like hating Herschel Walker.
Right.
But I don't know what the story is, and and how this thing is going to come out, or when we're going to find this young lad. I hope to God that they're wrong and they find him alive, well and alive.
Well, I think they're saying that they believe his body could be in the landfill. That's what the conclusions have come to.
Okay.
There's been no confirmation of that, but I believe they are looking for the body there. Also, I think you and I, when this first broke, I said, this just doesn't sound right. How do you have a missing child at 6 a.m. and not report that child missing till 9 a.m.? And then there's no Amber Alert, which I guess only if they're kidnapped by someone can they issue that. But how does the FBI get involved, especially when my understanding is that they have to be asked to come in. So it's not just that they are like, oh, hey, we're here to help. It's you have to actually ask them to come down and help you. So I don't know. I think that
we do
this
have
is
a field office here, so they know local news, and they know what goes on. But at the same time, and the mother was not supposed to. The mother didn't have custody of the kids. The grandmother had custody of the children.
Correct. And they had just taken her other kids, I believe, on the 14th of last month. So. Fairly new, but I believe they all tested positive for marijuana and cocaine. So she had a drug problem, and I believe this woman is only 22 years old.
Yeah.
So
and has another child.
3 children.
Yeah, 2 others. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just a bizarre story, very sad ending, it sounds like, and we're going to stay on top of this, although there is no reporting coming out over the weekend. I believe the last reporting I've seen was 4 days ago, Bill, which it's crazy.
A Friday update from a press conference, and that's all. And they didn't tell us anything we didn't know already. So we're just waiting, and we're at a loss. So you can contact us if you have any information. Go to granewsmedia.com. You can leave comments there.
Yes. And, like I said, sad story coming out of Savannah. And hopefully we hear the resolution of this case coming soon. Another crazy thing that happened in Savannah last week, Bill, you were telling me about this football player.
Yeah, I want to give big kudos out to a couple of young heroes that are not getting the publicity I think they deserve because they don't like to talk about the good kids on the lamestream media. But there are two young men from a Benedictine military school here who saved a football player's life. A young freshman collapsed on the field Wednesday a week ago of what they're calling a cardiac incident. And the two trainers for Benedictine, who are Brian Tootin and Ed Livingston, started giving him CPR and then got the portable defibrillator out. I think they had to shock him 3 times to get the heart restarted. When first responders finally got there, and I would say finally, I mean they were there, pretty quickly, but they said they credit the two trainers with saving this young man's life, and he is now recovering here in ICU, getting better. They dedicated last Friday night's game that they won pretty handily against Southeast Bullock to Cameron Cody is his name, and as a freshman, he's already been recruited by. He's already
Arkansas.
had colleges looking at him,
Yeah.
and even Arkansas had already mentioned that they'd like to have him, and here he is laid up in ICU. Things like this really shouldn't happen unless there was some underlying. Now, many times, we've heard the horror stories of some kid that was playing basketball and had a heart attack and died on the court, and there was some little heart problem that that was never discovered because it was that was so rare that they never even looked for it. But this is really strange.
Well, and Bill, I think we're seeing this a lot more often. And, I don't want to say that there's something else that happened in the last 2 years that could be contributing to this, but I do think it's very strange that we're seeing healthy young men all of a sudden having all these health conditions with their heart.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, they've come up with SADS, which is sudden adult death syndrome, which we're seeing a lot of in the last 2 years.
And gee, I don't know what the connection is, but we're seeing a lot of this with kids who've been vaccinated.
Yes. And, adults that have been vaccinated too. I think we're seeing it all over the map, and I think we're going to continue to see a lot more information come out about these vaccines, especially now that they're pushing a third booster for the vaccine. And I mean, there's people coming out now.
They're now not only telling not a third booster, now they're telling us it's like the flu shot. You're going to have to get one every year.
Oh, that's why God gave us 2 arms, right? One
That's
for the
right.
flu shot,
that's
one
why
for the
God
COVID
gave
shot.
us 2 arms. That's exactly what the medical director of the White House said. You can get one for the COVID and one for the flu.
Yeah, I'm going to hard pass on that, Bill.
Boy, I'll tell you, if it weren't for incompetence, they wouldn't have anybody in this administration.
No. And I will tell you, Friday was a really fun day here in Savannah.
Wasn't it, though?
There was so much energy here. And, I enjoyed myself on Friday. I went downtown and went to some of the local events for the debate here in town.
That was a debate between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock, unfortunately the empty suit that's representing us up there in Washington now. And we applied for press credentials, but they didn't want to give them to us flesh and blood creeps. So that was only reserved for the really high uppity ups in the media. So
no,
we
Bill.
didn't get them.
The funny thing is that they denied our press credentials, and then I got an email. And then when I went to ask them questions about it, they basically saw the email, said, sorry, there's a miscommunication, and then they called security. So that was really fun for
Well,
me.
they didn't call security on me. I mean,
Maybe I'm more threatening, Bill.
I did. I did ask them. I did ask them why we were being denied, and that was because the local people were in charge, basically, of that from WSAV, which as you know, is on your side.
Not on our side, but
They weren't
maybe
on our
your
side,
side.
but yeah, but the debate went off, and I thought Herschel was brilliant.
He didn't get distracted. He didn't get pulled into the shenanigans that were not tried, and I am very impressed with how prepared he was.
He and I hear a lot of the media did better than we expected, or did better than most thought, and that sort of thing. I thought Herschel was going to do well because I knew he was well prepared, But at the same time, he's going to be Herschel. And this is a strong young man that I've known since he was in high school. Now, I followed him pretty much his pro career, but not his personal life. Everything that they're accusing him of now, and all of these, there's a lot, the paper, our Savannah Morning misprint, the Savannah Morning page was printing over the weekend, was all the lies that Herschel told, all this and that. And all of that they were referring to was something that Herschel's already written a book about.
Yeah, it's in print. There's no deniability. Yeah. It's out there for everyone, and was before he ever decided to run for office.
Exactly.
So I think it's interesting. One of the fact checks that I saw, Bill, that I thought was kind of funny was the 70% of drugs are going through Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And they're like, this is mostly false. Why? Because the drug numbers are estimations. While it is possible, they are estimations, Bill. So Herschel's a liar.
I am sure that there's so much now there's no way you can tell. There's a lot of it going through here too, especially for us being a port city.
Yeah.
So we've got I-95 right outside the door, and we got a port on the other side.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of stuff in I-95 been known for years as the cocaine pipeline.
Yeah. So I just think that they definitely. I saw a lot of articles that cherry picked what he said and really took it out of context, like the games that they play, the media. And, the local media is not exempt here. I don't think they were fair to Herschel, and I think that I believe that there was actually a really nice article written about Warnock, who I thought I call him some of these people that are good at speaking, Bill, I call them silver-tongued devils. Mm-hmm. Like, they're very good at speaking, but what they say is not true, and they will schmooze you. Mm-hmm. And like Herschel said at the beginning of the debate, he's going to try and sweet talk you. And I feel like that's kind of his branding. But Warnock, he didn't answer any questions.
No, he didn't. It always referred to, well, I'm honored to be representing the state of Georgia, this, that, and the other. But this is a reverend who apparently, Herschel's got a great commercial running, said that this is a reverend who doesn't believe in redemption. Because he said, I've overcome my mental illness. And hadn't that been something, he's been a champion of that. Hadn't that been something that the media has been championing for the last few years? I remember in the years that I did my radio show, when I'd have psychologists and psychiatrists and everybody else on when we were talking about mental health issues, I said, it's interesting that if you have a heart problem, if you got a kidney problem, you don't have any trouble booking a cardiologist or a urologist to find out what's wrong or something's wrong. But when you've got a brain problem, suddenly that's almost like, okay, this is a psychotic that's going to go off and start murdering people. It has a connotation of its own. Mm-hmm. That the old saying was, that everybody goes to a psychiatrist needs their head examined. Well, I think at least they're consistent in their philosophy.
Right.
But at the same time, it has that stigma that because we've talked about PTSD for so many years. Of usually in connection with our soldiers.
Yeah, but also he played football for many, many years. Like that
Several concussions.
Well, I think the last 5 to 10 years, that's been a huge concern for people of what's happening to these football players when they get these concussions and some of the behavior that comes out of it.
The news media was trying to outlaw football for a number of years.
Yeah.
They really were, and you would think that the news media, even the sports media, it looked like, I said, are you trying to run yourself out of business?
Yeah, you would think.
I found out when I was in sports that the sports media is just as far on the left as the regular media is.
Well, we are going to be looking at some of the footage from the debate and discussing that more when we get back.
Especially that highlight of the one they're talking about, especially next.
have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We choose to go to the moon.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery.
Today, we deliver for the people of Florida yet again.
You saved our jobs.
And kept us going.
They tried to shut us down, but you saved our business.
$1,000 bonuses.
You had our backs.
And honored our service.
You led by facts, not fear.
And you let us decide.
You let me go to school.
You gave me a voice.
You put us first.
And didn't let them keep us apart.
You let us learn.
You let us compete.
All of us.
You protected our right to worship together in person.
And you raised our pay.
You protected our waters.
And kept Florida beautiful.
When they attacked you, you didn't cave.
You stood strong for Florida.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
Gracias, Gobernador DeSantis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis.
As your governor, I promise you, whatever challenges come our way, I will always lead the California way.
You
I say that's the California way.
You guys are really awesome. Thank you so much.
Based on compassion,
I mean, if we're going to be realistic, they'd pay you to be homeless here.
common sense. Clean and sober is one of the biggest damn mistakes this country's ever made. We all need to self-medicate periodically. Telling the truth. Telling the truth. Treasuring our diversity.
Success to hit my...
Telling the truth. Following science. Protecting our planet.
Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey.
Gavin Newsom, courage through crisis.
The last 3 years, Georgia's been tested in ways we could never imagine. And it fell to Governor Brian Kemp to successfully lead us during these troubling times. Georgia is still first in the nation for business. Our unemployment rate is the lowest in state history. Today, people come to Georgia to succeed, start a business, raise a family. Kemp has always backed the blue, stopping the radical left from defunding local police. He passed a tough new election integrity bill that, as the governor likes to say, made it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And while some during COVID-19 shut down their economy, Kemp kept our schools and businesses open while keeping Georgians safe. A long list of accomplishments. Fighting human trafficking, increasing teacher pay, greater access to quality health care. A governor who works for Georgians. All of us. Governor Brian Kemp.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here on this Monday morning. Here it is. Early voting starts today here in Georgia. And I would let me go back and fall on my sword, but I had said that early voting had already going to be started when we had the Herschel Walker Isaac Warnock debate. But I was incorrect.
Raphael Warnock.
Yeah, we like to. What did I say, Isaac again?
Yeah.
I worked with a guy named Isaac Warnock for 20 years. It's hard not to say that anymore, but. I thought that our early voting had started actually last week, and it hadn't. So starts today, though.
Yeah, and guess who debates today? That would be the governors.
Yes.
The people that want to be the governor, Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
And
Stacey running for re-election.
Yeah, she won, right?
Yeah, that's what she said. Well, she's saying it. She didn't say it now. They must think that that we don't have access to the internet. Al Gore's wonderful invention.
Or the fact that there's video.
Yeah, that's what
that stuff doesn't just go
have
away.
Access to, we can go back and look at this stuff where she said that she won the election.
I think we do have a clip of that.
As a matter of fact,
I think we have.
I have never denied the outcome. And I do have one very affirmative statement to make. We won.
But I didn't lose. I got the votes. But we won't know exactly how many because of how they cheated.
I did win my election. I just didn't get to have the job. We were robbed of an election.
Using the word rigged, using the word steal, do you think it's dangerous going into 2020?
I don't, because we can actually back it up. And so in response to what I believe was a stolen election, and I'm not saying they stole it from me, they stole it from the voters of Georgia. I spent the interim 10 days between the election and my non-concession day.
And that video goes on for another minute. I think we got the gist there.
Of it. I thought that you weren't supposed to question.
Oh, did you know that we are no longer called election deniers, Bill? Did you hear this?
Oh.
We are now called election skeptics. They've softened that verbiage.
Oh.
I don't know if it has something to do with the lawsuit that was just filed against CNN or not, but people are starting to change their verbiage very quickly.
And CNN's not good at winning lawsuits.
And I've heard they're not great. They're
not good at much of anything else either, but like news or something. But truth. But after the Nicholas Sandman incident, among other things, they're not very good at winning lawsuits or telling you the truth.
Yeah. So I mean, I hope that this does change the game and that Trump wins his lawsuit against CNN and multiple other networks, because they shouldn't be able to call him Hitler and do all these nefarious things without any proof or evidence.
Well, this is also from people who haven't studied history. Calling somebody Hitler is just about as bad as you can get.
Yes.
It should be like the N word as far as that goes, because he was a hideous human being who caused millions and millions of deaths because of his own, this personality of his that somehow engaged the German people to back this guy. You get your politics wrong, as Charles Krauthammer once said, and I mean, the same society that gave us Bach and Beethoven gives us Auschwitz and Dachau. And for those of you who've been to public schools recently, those were two concentration camps where over 6 million Jews were murdered. And it was so calling somebody a person relating to him as something as despicable as this is just disgusting. And they haven't studied history, and I know that, because we don't teach much of it anymore.
Yeah, 100% agree. So going back to Stacey Abrams and Kemp, they will be on the debate stage tonight. I think that will be
news.
I just found out about this Friday.
I only found out about it yesterday, and there was a debate supposedly that was the National Association of Always Complaining People here, the NAACP, had a debate last Thursday night where they said that Stacey and Brian and the Libertarian candidate were supposed to be there. Stacey was here, right?
Yep, Stacey was here taking questions.
And the place wasn't exactly packed, but once again trying to make capital of the fact that Brian wasn't there. I'm not even sure he knew about it.
Well, they did. I'm wondering if it got lost in the mail, because they did spell his name wrong, which is kind of weird. He's been the governor for 6 years. So kind of weird that they did that.
He was Secretary of State for 8 years before that.
Yeah.
And then before that, he was in the Georgia legislature. He's been around for a while. And Kemp is not exactly, Schlimbovich.
Oh, that's not what they spelled wrong. It was Brian.
Oh, they spelled it with Y?
Y. Mm-hmm.
With the Y.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that has to be on purpose, because that is not the traditional spelling of Brian anyways.
No, there's Bryan County right next to us that spells it with a Y, but,
Yeah.
and I don't know if a few Bryans that spell it with a Y, but most of the time it's with an I.
Yeah.
And he's been around long enough, they ought to know that.
Yeah, and they did put his name last, which I thought was interesting. They're like, we're doing alphabetical. I'm like, that's not how you do it in politics.
No, it's not.
So, yeah, just a terrible, terrible showing. And, I think the thing is you don't want to believe that people do things out of spite or in a nefarious way, but then it becomes the news that he didn't show up and he didn't do this. And
But then again, we're talking about Democrats and especially liberals.
Well, in the news media too. I think that there's like also a lot of ill intent there, which is it's unfortunate because I think that
once again we're talking about Democrats.
Yeah, well, I think us as people that are voting, we have the right to see people debate, and when they start doing this game playing with these public forums and he was invited, he didn't come, like that type of thing, it's just. I think it's a bunch of shenanigans, Bill, and I don't think it's fair to the voters.
That's what they're talking about with Herschel last night. There was another debate that the Atlanta Press Club had, and Herschel made it clear from the beginning he wasn't going to that one. He knew how biased the Atlanta Press Club was, but unfortunately they made capital of the fact, and that's when the Warnock people finally found their voice. Oh, Herschel didn't show up. Look at this. He doesn't want to answer these questions. They didn't have a darn thing to say about it when Herschel mopped the floor with Warnock on Friday night here. And this is the one little issue right now that they are pointing to in the debate on Friday night.
Yeah, well, and before we get to that video, we're going to actually view that when we get back from a break. But, the interesting thing is that there was an interview done with Herschel after the event.
Yes.
On Friday. There was not done with Warnock. He was not available for an interview after that event. So kind of interesting.
Left.
Very quickly from what I heard.
What was the hurry?
I mean, maybe he had to go look into that church shenanigan that he was dealing with. Maybe.
Yeah. We were told that I was surprised the debate was only an hour.
Yeah.
Most debates are 2 hours, but I thought they did a good job. I actually thought Warnock got some pretty pointed, pretty tough questions. I wasn't really expecting him to get. So I thought that both moderators, Tina Tyashaw from here, and I was not familiar with the other gentleman, but he did a great job.
He's from Columbus, I think, Georgia.
Yeah. Well, they kept him on point. They kept it rolling, but they said we're going to have a post debate forum afterward with other journalists from around the state, and we're going to have individual interviews with the candidates themselves. Herschel was there. Warnock wasn't. Where did he go?
Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, especially just with all of the, the shenanigans they pulled yesterday, and if Herschel said he wasn't going to be there, then, and they just had the debate on Friday. Why would they do one on a Sunday? And, I think it was just a platform for Warnock to really talk and, say whatever he felt like he didn't get to say on Friday.
Now, libertarians who are great at throwing monkey wrenches into these work, because we would have David Perdue would have been reelected had it not been for for the libertarians, because David Perdue actually beat John Ossoff by something like 40,000 votes in the general election. But because he didn't get 50% of the vote, because we got 3 or 4 or 5% went to the libertarian candidate, he didn't get in and lost in that runoff, of course. But now we've got this libertarian.
I think his name's Chris Price or something.
Going against Warnock. He pretty much burned him on a few things that didn't get a whole lot of publicity. We'll talk about that more. We'll also show you the big moment that the media wants to concentrate on from Friday night's debate, coming up next on Get Real America.
Oh no, he got a debate. He may not even show up for that one. He made every excuse not to show up. He was making every excuse not to show up. I begged him until I chased him down, and then he decided he was going to show up on October the 14th. So all you be there, October the 14th. He's going to show up, and we're going to debate, and we're going to see whether he wants to debate if he shows up. I told him to put his big man pants on, and I think he put them on and finally decided to come, so I'm happy that he's going to come in his hometown here in Savannah. So it's going to be a good debate.
Sir, you have not agreed to do debates before this one. So you mentioned Senator Warnock, you had to get him to do this one, but he couldn't get you to do other ones.
That's not true. That is totally not true. Wait, you got to answer the question. Don't tell a lie. Don't tell a lie. No, I know the question you're going to ask. I haven't agreed to do his debate because his debate wasn't a fair debate, and it's not good to do a fair debate. A fair debate is to do it in front of the voters. And I've agreed. I said, if Senator Warnock come to Savannah, Georgia, in front of people and do the debate, show up, do one. Don't be talking about something else. You haven't even shown up yet. Make sure you show up at this one. If you bring him to this debate, drive him here, do the debate, then we can talk about other stuff. Right now, I don't think he's showing up because he don't want to talk about the issues. You know that.
So what kind of preparation are you doing?
Talking to the voters, talking to you. You told me I got to prepare, so I'm preparing. I'm this country boy. You know, I'm not that smart. And he's that preacher. He's a smart man, wear these nice suits. So he's going to show up and embarrass me at the debate October the 14th. And I'm just waiting. You know, I'll show up, and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best.
I do absolutely agree that it's racist. It is a redux of Jim Crow in a suit and tie.
America has a long history of systemic racism.
You ain't black.
America has a pre-existing condition. It's called racism.
Senator Warnock believes America is a bad country full of racist people. I believe we're a great country full of generous people. Warnock wants to divide us. I want to bring us together. I'm Herschel Walker. I approve this message.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you with us on this Monday morning as we crank up a brand new week of fun and frolic.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, Bill.
Yes, I was just looking at the Savannah Morning Misprint on Friday that ignoring racism will not solve it. You know, Brittany, all the people that keep telling me that I should ignore skin color are always the ones who are bringing it up.
So interesting, Bill. And I will tell you what was really refreshing is that in the Warnock-Herschel debate, you cannot use skin color or race.
Yeah.
And it is wonderful because, you know, I get so tired of it. Because I think most people, I mean, we could care less, Bill. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what color you are. Like, are you a good person? Okay. If you're not a good person, it doesn't matter what color you are. I'm not a fan.
Or rather gender, because you know there's a senator from Massachusetts we like to refer to as Liar-Watha, or Pocahontas.
Oh, jeez. Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, who said that she had people come up. I even hate to say this, but when you say something as stupid as people come up to her and say, you know, I'd vote for you if you had a penis.
Who was saying that, Bill?
I think again, I think they just make this up.
Yeah, I think that this is a bunch of shenanigans.
How many people do you know would walk up to you and say something like that if you had so and so?
Here's the thing: you're a sitting U.S. senator.
Yeah.
I think people voted for you.
Yeah, they did.
And it's very apparent that you do not have a penis.
Yeah,
so
you got and you got a job claiming to be an indigenous person. A handsome six-figure job at Harvard because you claimed that you were and finally when the DNA test came out, I loved it when President Trump called her out, said, let's get, okay, all right, you said you got all this Indian blood in you, let's see that DNA test, kid. So she was finally shamed into it, and then found out that Herschel Walker has more indigenous people's blood in him than does Liar-Watha.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan of her. She actually used to be a very intelligent woman, like 10 years ago. I don't know. The crazy got her, I guess. Yeah. I'm not sure. She actually used to say a lot of thoughtful things, and I think money and greed get to people, and it turns them into like, okay, whatever you say, I'll say it.
Don't they though? All right. So Friday night's debate, and this is the moment that most of the media is talking about in that debate. I thought it was brilliant.
Yes.
but here goes when Isaac, there we go again. When Senator Warnock accused Herschel in so many words of lying about being a police officer or in law enforcement.
One thing I have not done, I've never pretended to be a police officer, and I've never threatened a shootout with the police.
Well, and now I have to respond to that.
We are moving on,
I
gentlemen.
have to respond to that. And you know what's so funny? I am work with many police officers, and at the same time,
Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, excuse me, Mr. Walker.
When
please,
he say a problem
out of
with
respect,
the truth
I
is
need
here.
to let you know, Mr.
Yes.
Walker, you are very well
Yes.
aware of the rules tonight.
Yes.
And you have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir.
Yes.
I ask you to put that prop away.
Well, it's not a prop. This is real. And he said, I have a problem. I never worked with law enforcement.
It is considered a prop, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You're very well aware of the rules, aren't you?
Well,
Aren't you aware of the
he
rules?
brought up the truth. Let's talk about the truth.
Thank you for putting that
Yes.
prop away.
Okay, that's the moment they were talking about. Now, Tina Taya Shaw was the
one of the moderators.
was one that was calling Walker out, And okay, you could technically say it was a prop, but Warnock was the guy that brought it up, and I didn't know about the shootings or anything. But Herschel hadn't tried to run over his wife with a car, like Warnock has.
Well, I also think when you look at some of the stuff that Warnock refused to answer, it's like, I don't know. He's a skeezy guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, he didn't answer any questions. He wasn't and he really did try to attack Walker, and Walker did not do the same.
Exactly.
He did not he kept it very policy driven.
Just defended himself.
Yep.
With the prop.
Yes, with his prop. But also, I've seen a lot of sheriffs that he has worked with come out and say, you know what, he worked with us for years, and he'd come talk to people, and maybe he wasn't out arresting people, but that doesn't mean that's the only way you work with the police.
Yeah, Shaquille O'Neal also is very interested in law enforcement, and I think he's got either an honorary badge or he's gone to law school and has trained and studied for that.
He was running for sheriff somewhere.
Yeah, including, of course, being a pitchman for Icy Hot.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
At the same time, he has police credentials, and so does Herschel Walker. And elected officials like sheriffs don't just come out and say something just because they feel like it. If this country, I think, is going to be saved, it's going to be up to you to get out and vote, which is 3 weeks from tomorrow. And early voting started already. But American sheriffs are really standing up. In many cases, they're saying, I'm not going to enforce these anti-Second Amendment pieces of legislation. I'm not going to go around starting confiscating my citizens' guns. I'm an elected official. I believe in the Second Amendment. I think that the county sheriffs are going to save this country on the law enforcement issue, because they're not like police chiefs that are a political position. They are elected by the people, and they are in touch with the people. I know ours is.
Yeah, and they're actually a very, very, very powerful position that I was unaware of until the last 5 years of how much power they have, because they are elected and they don't really report to anyone.
Exactly.
So they're very powerful. And I will say, in these sheriff elections, it kind of goes along with the DA elections. So if you have a sheriff that was influenced by Soros, you're in real big trouble.
Yeah,
so if you know that your sheriff is a Soros sheriff, get them out of there as quickly as you can. But I think that's one of the big things is the DA and the sheriff were two offices that they really focused on in certain areas. So
and that's when we found out why in the world George Soros and his confederates were pouring all this money into. A lot of people were scratching their heads. Why is all this money going to these local district attorney elections around the country? And that's the reason. And we got one elected here, unfortunately.
Yep, we're going to work on that, though. We are going to work on it. Another important part of the debate, of course, Democrats have really made it about abortion. That is, January 6th and abortion are really the two topics they have that they're running on. And one other thing that I want to say is Raphael Warnock was very proud of passing the anti-inflation bill. And I was just like, quit bringing it up. It's You look ridiculous. We all go to the grocery store, sir. Yeah. We all go to the grocery store and get gas.
And most of us don't have electric cars, so we know what it's like, how much it costs to fill up our cars as well. And Herschel had a great response to that as well, because I wish he'd have said, I'd like to have given him the line, look, I may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I may not be a math genius, but I do note you can't spend yourself rich.
Right.
Which is, if you pass a bill that spends another $2 trillion and says this is going to reduce inflation, I want you to call your MasterCard holder right now and say, listen, I'm going to pay my debts off today by going out and spending $5,000 this afternoon. That's exactly. It's.
I don't think they'll buy it, but
no. Well,
you could try.
You might be able to use it, but they're going to ask you for the money back.
Yeah.
With interest.
Yes.
With a lot of interest.
Of course.
And so here we are. He's saying that Walker said he wouldn't vote for this. Well, that'd be a good reason to vote for Walker in the first place. But when he came back and said that, wait a minute. He said, I didn't co-sign anybody's student.
Right. It's
loan.
Not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that's what it comes down to. And people that pay taxes, they don't want to pay more taxes because someone decided to go to school and get an art therapy degree. I mean, and these are working class people that don't deserve to be taxed on loans they didn't take out. And, you know, I have a lot of opinions on that. But going back, I think we have one more clip in regards to the debate with Warnock and Herschel Walker.
Take a look.
I have to respond to this very quickly because he told me Black Lives Matter. And if you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than anything. So if Black Lives Matter, why are you not protecting those babies? And instead of aborting those babies, why are you not baptizing those babies?
Mr. Warnock, or Senator Warnock, will give you a chance to respond to that.
I think the women of Georgia have a clear choice. He says no exceptions, even in the case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. I think that's extreme. It's out of touch with Georgia, and I intend to do the work that senators can do.
See, he didn't read the heartbeat bill, though. Wait, he didn't read the heartbeat bill. That there is exceptions for that in the heartbeat bill. So when he makes a statement that is untrue, and I do respect that, but Senator, you have to read that bill.
Yeah, so you heard Walker there really say that's not true. There are exceptions in the heartbeat bill.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
once again, Warnock trying to obfuscate the issue, and it ain't working.
Well, the other one-liner that he got in there was when Warnock was saying, you know, the patient room is too big for the mom, the doctor, and the government.
And the government, yeah.
And then he comes back and said he forgot that there's also a baby in that room.
There's also a baby in that room.
And also...
That was classic.
Well, and then he brought in, and you want the taxpayer to pay for these abortions, so you're bringing the government right back into the room.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had a couple of really good points, and I was, to be honest, I think that Herschel did a really good job of making it, you know, sound like he wasn't going to be prepared in a lot of the setup to the debate, which I thought was actually pretty clever, and I don't think Warnock was prepared for him.
No, he wasn't. And that's the reason I think that he left in a huff, because he wasn't there for the post-debate. Herschel was. And Herschel, then again, Brittany, we were there at a big rally that he had on Saturday morning.
Yes.
In the parking lot of what's left of the Savannah Mall.
Yeah. Yes, but there was a lot of people that showed up. It was actually really fun, Bill. Like the energy there was great. But the funny thing, he brought a blue jersey, and I believe it said Biden on one side and Warnock on the other side, and then number 96.
Number 96.
What could that mean, Bill?
Could it mean that maybe Warnock has voted with Joe Bite Me, or as John Fetterwoman says, Joe Biden, has voted with Joe Biden 76% of the time, 96% of the time.
Yes.
So the number 96 on the jersey, and Warnock on one side, and
Biden on the other side. And, you know, and people booed at the rally. He's like, no, it's a great jersey. It's a great jersey. It's a good shirt.
Yeah. It was classic.
Yeah. And Herschel sat, and he also took the time to stay, and he took a picture with every single person that wanted one, which I thought was great. That's very taxing on someone to sit there and take photo after photo. I get that that's politics, but, you know.
So proud of you, Herschel, and good luck, because early voting has begun in Georgia, and the real election 3 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh my goodness, Bill. Please, I can't even believe it.
Please vote early and often.
Yes, yes. So we are actually going to take a break, and we will be right back after this, Bill.
Yeah, got another good stuff for you.
Wasteful Washington spending is killing us with inflation and sky-high prices on groceries and gas. Senator Raphael Warnock voted to allow hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID relief funds to be squandered on a luxury resort in Florida, a New Jersey soccer stadium, a ski area in Iowa. Tell Senator Warnock to start voting against reckless spending to stop inflation. Georgia families need cheaper gas and food, not frivolous luxuries in other states.
People told me politics is dirty. They're right. My opponents launched a dirty attack ad. They dug up an old video and took it out of context. My opponents think they're hurting me, but I'm glad they did this ad because it gives me an opportunity to end the stigma around mental health. Here's the truth. My ex-wife Cindy and I are good friends, along with her husband and my wife. And I am grateful for all the support Cindy gave me during the hardest time of my life. I came forward back then in an effort to save lives and to help people who were struggling. We need to end the stigma around mental health. Let me say this to anyone watching, all the veterans and people who are suffering. Your life has value. There is hope, and you're not alone. I would rather listen to a friend talk about his struggles than to go to their funeral. That's why I wrote my book about my life. But my opponents, they don't care about the truth. The fact is, Senator Warnock can't talk about his accomplishments. He's failed Georgia, so he and his friends will lie and deceive. We're going to fight back with the truth, but I need your help. I'm asking everyone to go to teamherschel.com and help me fight back with the truth. God bless. Hi, this is Herschel Walker. I want to endorse Bruce Thompson as our new Labor Commissioner because he's going to do the best job you've ever seen for the great state of Georgia.
Listen, I'm standing here with the great Herschel Walker. We all know what's happened in our U.S. Senate, and it's time for a change. And I 100% endorse Herschel Walker to represent Georgia and the United States as we take back our country for the people of Georgia and for the United States.
God bless.
And we are back on this Monday morning.
On Get Real America, I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard. Early voting starting today in Georgia, and the election 3 weeks from tomorrow. Don't complain on Wednesday, 3 weeks away, about what happened if you don't go out and vote.
Yes, exactly. And don't forget to watch the debate tonight between Kemp and Abrams. I think it will be a good one.
That's the first one. Of course, we're just finding out about this. But
it was a big surprise.
There will be two of them. There's another one coming up on October the 30th, which is Halloween Eve, which is a Sunday. So they're having one on a Monday night and a Sunday night.
Okay.
So there will be two, and we will see how it goes. But I think Brian will do well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I believe that there's also one with Buddy Carter and Wade Herring this week. And I think that there's one more. But, just make sure to tune into the debates, hear what these candidates have to say, and do some research, please.
But yes, do your own research. You don't have to believe in us. Isn't it interesting how when you have a Democrat, for the most part, who looks like they have a pretty comfortable lead in an election, they will refuse to do a debate, and the media says nothing about it. Brian Kemp has a pretty good lead here in Georgia. I think he's going to win by a pretty good margin. Knock on wood, of course. Yeah. But at the same time, he's agreed to these debates. Whereas where you see on the left side, those who are usually in the lead, or if things are really tight, they don't want to debate.
I think that I think we're seeing a lot more of the I'm not debating than we are debating. I'm surprised that the Herschel and the Warnock went down, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny, we call him Herschel, we don't call him Walker usually. Yeah. So I think that's kind of funny. But anyways, he's like Madonna. He just has a first name.
That's exactly right. Or Cher.
Yes.
Just that one word, one name that gets you right there. Kreskin.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes. I did meet a dog on Friday named Herschel Walker.
Did you really?
Yes, and he had like a little blanket on, and it was red, and it had Herschel on one side and Walker, and I was like, oh, what's your dog's name? They're like, Herschel Walker. I'm like, oh, really? Well, okay. I thought you were just supporting Herschel, but really, that's his name. And it was a hound dog. It was so cute. He was down there at the sign waving for Herschel on Friday, so that was fun.
Very good. But debates, and of course, we'll have some of the highlights of those debates for you as well. But at the same time, we've got some highlights of something that was absolutely fantastic. And I wish more, even the candidates, I think would do a lot better if they would go after the opposition the way Maria Bartiromo did on Fox Futures.
Yes, and she went after Michigan Congresswoman from, I believe her last name is Dingell. She is on Fox quite a bit. She is a Democrat that will go on Fox, which I commend her for. But she didn't have a lot of answers for Maria, and I think Maria has had enough of the lies. And so let's take a look at Maria grilling her.
See how it went. Yeah, this is good.
To people saying
it wasn't on vaccines. You're talking about
COVID.
$1.9 trillion COVID relief package spending that had nothing to do with COVID. You know that, Congresswoman. You're talking about 40-year high inflation right now. It's cutting into profits. It's cutting into people's lives. They can't even go paycheck to paycheck. 75% of the country says we're going in the wrong direction, which is a major problem for this economy.
Well, first of all, I go to the gas station and I go to the grocery store too, and we've got to do something. But I'm not going to apologize for trying to fix our roads because our infrastructure is.
The roads are not being fixed. The money is misallocated. And then there's a wide open border. Colored fentanyl is being used to target children. What are you going to do about the fentanyl poisoning in this country? Now we have to worry about Halloween because of this wide open border. Have you spoken to Joe Biden about it?
Yes, I've talked to the president about it because I am really worried.
What is his answer? What is his answer for the 100,000 people who have been poisoned by fentanyl? What is his answer for the 3 million people who are in this country on his watch illegally? What did he say to you?
Okay, Maria, can we go calmly? I didn't talk to him about immigration directly.
So you haven't spoken to him about the border?
Fentanyl and drugs have been around a long time. My father.
Fentanyl trafficking has accelerated substantially on Joe Biden's watch. We know this, and you know this.
It's happened for years and decades in this country, and we didn't talk about it.
That's not true.
And it happens every place.
That's not true. Why weren't we talking about fentanyl 2 years ago? How many people do you know that have died of fentanyl poisoning?
I know too many people and members of my own family.
So do I. They're dropping fentanyl all over Texas through drones. What are you doing about it?
I'm meeting with the ATF today to discuss it.
Is your statement that the fentanyl problem did not get worse under Joe Biden?
We're all trying to work on the border.
No one's working on the border from the Democrat Party. I do not see anyone working on the open border from the Democrat Party.
No, we got to remember we got human responsibilities too to help people.
What about Americans who are seeing their jobs go away? What about Americans who are seeing their health care coverage go away because they need money for the migrants? What about the impact on Americans? What about Michigonians?
Hey, Maria, I didn't come on to have a screaming match.
Under the Trump administration, the border was secure and apprehensions at the border were at a 40-year low. They're now at a 20-year high. Because of the open border, we are seeing drugs poison American citizens. You know this, and I know this. Will you please reach out to the president and ask him what his solution is to this wide open border and call us back?
I don't normally like train wrecks, but brother, that was classic. Way to go, Maria. I've always liked her, but I have a whole new respect for Maria Bartiromo when she was holding this Miss Dingleberry's feet to the fire, and she didn't have any. Oh, we've always had fentanyl. Fentanyl's been a problem for years. Well, we were talking about it 2 years ago.
Well, it would have been great under something they could talk about Trump about. You know what I mean? If it really was an issue, they would have been talking about it, and we would have never heard the end of it.
Yeah, they were busy talking about him putting kids in cages.
Yeah, we had to hear about that for.
Yeah, the cages that the Dalai Lama built.
Yeah, and
the pictures that they were showing,
AOC,
by the way, were from the Dalai Lama era. And photoshopping a little girl crying to her mother about something and then putting Trump next to her on the cover of Time magazine, making it look like he was denying this little 3-year-old child entrance into America. Just pathetic. And here we are with this big drug problem. Maria has an absolutely concrete reason for being angry that all of this fentanyl is coming across here. We're making the drug cartels. I wish our military had a budget that the cartels have.
Oh, for reals.
I wish we had the equipment that the cartel has. Of course, they might have bought some from our friends in Afghanistan because they got plenty of our new stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing is they don't just control the Mexican side of the border.
No,
they are infiltrating the U.S. side of the border, and people that live on the border, their lives have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Their property's been destroyed. They're finding dead bodies on their property. Like, can you imagine, Bill, just walking out and finding some dead bodies on your property?
You would think you're in front of Lee Zeldin's house.
It just never ends, Bill. There's so much stuff going on, and they're very good at manipulating the situation. So don't forget what they've done the last 2 years. Go back and look at their track record. They might say, oh, no, we never wanted to defund police. Yes, you did.
Uh-huh.
You never created any of the problems that we have. Yes, you did. The Anti-Inflation Act, it's not anti-inflation. You guys are causing more inflation.
And notice once it got signed, they talked about it being how green it was, how much all this money that they gave for climate change.
Well, they said it was an environmental bill. We passed the biggest environmental bill that we've ever passed.
And in case you don't know, this is another thing that's outrageous about the media, about how the stories that they don't like go away very quickly. Like, there's still a baby formula shortage, for example, but the Lee Zeldin, I hope he gets elected governor of New York, because Kathy Hochul is just a disaster. You were better off with Governor Cuomo. But a man walks up on stage and tries to murder a sitting congressman, and he's out on the street the next day. And I think maybe some minor charges have been filed, but only because I think of public outrage.
Yes.
And then 2 people are shot in front of his house. One bullet missed his daughters inside by something like 90 feet. It wasn't a lot, but I mean it was just unbelievable that these attacks have been going on against Zeldin, who has pretty much closed the gap. It looked like he might win. I hope to God, you folks in New York, please get rid of Kathy Hochul, for goodness sakes. But Lee Zeldin has been an excellent congressman. He's represented you represented America very well. And they've tried to kill him a couple of times now. They said there didn't seem to be any correlation, they said, with these shootings in front of his house where 2 kids were shot. And the campaign. Oh, please, quit insulting our intelligence.
Well, I also think, for New Yorkers, I think that they've had enough. The New York City is, I mean, I couldn't even imagine going there, and it was one of my favorite cities.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much.
Oh.
It was a city that you went to, and you felt like anything was possible.
The city's so nice, I named it twice.
Yeah, so. But I couldn't go there now.
Wonderful place to go.
I wouldn't go there now.
Yeah, oh, heck no. But even though New York, as you know, has a brand, as the mayor says. Kansas doesn't have a brand, but New York has a brand. So quit sending these illegal aliens here, because we can't accommodate them. Really? I thought you were thought that was a sanctuary city.
A sanctuary
state.
Loved
illegal immigrants.
State.
Yeah.
So the whole state should be fair game, and I think that we're going to see what happens in this election, Bill. I think that people have had enough. I'm hoping that people don't believe the polling. I will tell you that people on the conservative side, we're not good pollers. You want to know why?
Because we're afraid somebody's going to come after you.
Exactly. So, I mean,
They'll save their talking for the voting booth.
Exactly. So don't believe what you say. So something else I heard interesting from someone that I know, they have a lot of Democrat friends. And he said that he has a friend that is married to a woman that's very much a Warnock Democrat fan. And he cannot say anything because he is actually more conservative. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Herschel won the debate, hands down. And there's been a lot of chatter about how well he did. And, there's a lot of people that are afraid to speak out in that community. So we will see what happens on Election Day, but don't forget to vote. It's very, very important. Do your research and make sure you're voting for candidates that have your values. And, we do need police officers. So if they said defund the police, do not vote for them.
Exactly.
So we're going to wrap it for today on a Monday. That went by so fast.
Time flies and you're having fun.
Yeah.
We'll be back again tomorrow and all week long for you right here on Get Real America. We will see you then.
Remember to check